Bonjour à tous, vous êtes sur The Likers et pour cette nouvelle vidéo, je vous emmène encore à Hollywood en compagnie d'un réalisateur de films d'horreur. Si je vous dis L'étrange cas de Deborah Logan, Paranormal Activity 5, Ghost Dimension, Insidious 4, La dernière clé ou encore Escape Game 1, et il revient cet été avec Escape Game 2, Le monde est un piège, en salle depuis le 11 août. Il s'agit bien entendu du réalisateur Adam Robitel, qui m'a fait le plaisir d'être mon invité en exclusivité sur The Likers. Il vient nous parler en détente de sa carrière de réalisateur et scénariste, sa vision du cinéma d'horreur et l'impact de la pandémie sur l'industrie du cinéma. Et bien entendu, si vous voulez toujours plus d'exclusivité sur The Likers, c'est bien, abonnez-vous à la chaîne, soutenez la chaîne, n'oubliez pas d'activer la petite cloche, mettez-moi un petit pouce bleu, vous savez que j'aime vous lire et que je réponds à tous vos commentaires et que vous répondez à mes commentaires et que je réponds à vos commentaires, enfin bref, c'est sans fin. Encore un grand merci à tous et passez une belle fin d'été. Quant à moi, je vous souhaite de passer un excellent moment sur The Likers. Hey!
Hello!
Adam, I'm so glad to have you. I know you're pretty busy right now, you know, promoting your movie. So thank you very much to take your time to talk to you. You know, it is summertime. I know it's pretty hot in California. And in France, it's pretty hot too. So I just got back from vacation. I don't know about you, but first of all, Adam, how are you? Tell us, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it's, you know, Escape Room came out in the middle of July, and I had my doubts because we were competing against big movies, but then I think the COVID variant hit, and it's like it just didn't do the business that I think we wanted it to do. So it was frustrating to see that, but then also, like, I don't know what theatrical is going to look like in the next couple of months. I mean, it's getting worse again here, you know, and people are scared. So I'm frustrated that the movie didn't do better business, at least in North America. But I'm focused right now on a TV show. I'm working on a Netflix show with Darren Aronofsky. So we're about to start writing that. So I'm always better when I have something else to focus on as opposed to just sitting in my feelings. You know what I mean? So
of course, yeah. You keep your mind focused on the next thing.
Yeah. Are you in Paris?
No, not actually. I mean, I work in Paris, but I'm in Lyon. You know this city, Lyon? It's 2 hours down from Paris.
I really want to go to France. I mean, I think it's, you know, all Americans think, you know, France is like the most romantic place to go. And I don't know much about it at all.
You're my guest. When you want to come, just let me know, man. I will show you around. That will be fun.
Thank you.
You know, Adam, for the audience who watching us, I would just remind them who is Adam Robitel, actually, you know, because you're a director, you're a writer, you're an actor. You definitely look like an awesome actor, you know. So your first big movie was the taking of Deborah Logan, right?
Yes.
That was your first big movie, and then you wrote for a big franchise, Paranormal Activity, the fifth, the Ghost Dimension, and then you take on another big franchise, Insidious 4. The Last Key, of course, and then Escape Room 1, renamed in France, by the way, Escape Game. And I don't know why, because, you know, Escape Game is a famous game here in France, and I love to do Escape Game with my friends also. And now you come back this summer with Escape Game 2, Tournament of Champion. Actually, was just released last Wednesday here in France. So we're good. We're good to talk about it, you know?
Awesome.
And I just had a chance today to see the movie. You know, I came right away to the theater to see the movie because I was like, I need to see the movie before talking to Adam, you know, because I was in vacation yesterday. I got back from my vacation yesterday. So I had a great time. Very entertaining movie. You know, it's a really different movie in a lot of ways, you know, like this time you push the story, the action, tension, the riddles, and the twists. Do you have, this interest to push the narrative further? Like, who is Minos? What they want to do?
Well, listen, I'll be honest with your fans. I mean, I when I said I was going to do a sequel, like, I didn't want to do the exact same thing we did in the first movie, and that was my big thing. My two things were, like, I want to try something different, and then I also want to push the envelope, like, make the rooms bigger, make them more intense, make them more dangerous. And initially, we tried a version of Escape Room Tournament of Champions, Escape Game Tournament of Champions, where we explained away the villain in a way. We opened with a villain story, and it will be available on the DVD and also on the streamer services, an entirely different version of a movie. But what we found
a director cut.
A whole other alternate version than what you just saw today.
Nice.
We go behind the scenes of the puzzle maker's life, but what we found was, to answer your question, by doing test screenings, was that, like, we were showing too much behind the curtain, and as much as audiences want to know, like, who Minos is, as soon as you start to show and depict and dramatize that story, it becomes less mysterious and less scary. So I really tried to do something different, and unfortunately, because I was servicing this Zoe Ben revenge story, I didn't have enough real estate in the storytelling to do a whole other villain story. You know what I mean? So it was a learning lesson for me. And then when we got back to, there's some cool twists in Escape Room Tournament of Champions that explain how manipulative Minos is, and how they not only do they create escape rooms, but they manipulate your entire life. Every choice you make, every person in your life can't be trusted. And, look, I think being in a pandemic the way we are now, our entire lives are, like, our entire well-being has been upended, right? Like, we don't feel like we're in control of our lives anymore. And I think that's something that I got excited about, because it's like, it can really relate to this idea that maybe there are these powerful Machiavellian forces out there that are controlling not only plagues and COVID, but like world wars. And I like the idea that, like, Minos, they do escape rooms, but they also can punk somebody, make them feel crazy. Maybe they started COVID. Like, they have this huge arsenal of entertainment that they do for their clients. So that,
I'm glad to hear that, because watching the movie, I say, hey, they want to tell us something about, like a secret society. Like, there's something more, something bigger behind all of this. So I'm glad to hear that we're going to have a director cut, That's really nice. I can't wait to see that.
In America right now, there are so many conspiracy theories.
Of course.
The virus was a hoax, and Bill Gates is trying to put microchips in people's, vaccines. So
we have this here in France. That's the same, same thing.
The same. Okay. So it's scary, and, like, we have this whole QAnon thing, which is, like, crazy. Escape Room, talks a lot about, like, it's sort of like the Matrix, right? It's like, if you look around hard enough, you're going to start to see that there's deadly influences in games and puzzles all around you. You know what I mean? So I like, at the end of the day, look, I think we wanted to make a roller coaster ride that just, as soon as the action starts, it just doesn't stop. And, I'm really proud of the rooms the train sequence was really fun, to pull off. And we really also, the other hard part with the movie was, in the first movie, we kill people with gravity, ice, cold, fire, gas. We basically killed them with all the visual ways you can kill them. So, like, the hard part with the sequel is, like, okay, what are the rooms going to be? Like, at one point, I even pitched a molasses flood, because there was this in Boston where I grew up. This whole sugar factory exploded, and a bunch of people died by literally a river of sugar. I was like, what about molasses? You know what I mean? You were coming up with, like, because it's PG-13, we can't just cut somebody's arm off. We have to be visual,
too much gore in it.
Gory. Yeah.
I know. Adam, I have two co-hosts with me in the room right now.
Cool.
But don't worry, they can't escape this room. It's okay. So one is a YouTuber. His name is David. He's a friend of mine, and the other one is a young French director. He's a fan of horror movie, and actually he's directed 2 short horror movie, and both of them, they have a couple questions for you. Okay.
Awesome.
Hey, David.
Hey, how are you? Hi, Adam. Nice to meet you.
Hi, David. Pleasure to meet you.
And the other one is Belkacem.
Hey, so nice to meet you.
Likewise. Wow, you get really interesting backdrops. You have like the mandala or something behind you.
Thank you. Actually, it's not mine. C'est pas le mien, mais bon, enfin, I'm flattered anyway.
Because Belkacem is in Sicily right now. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And so he's in vacation. So I call him and say, hey, you have to be there now. I'm right away.
Yeah,
So Adam, they're gonna ask their question in French, and I will do the translation. It's okay for you?
Perfect.
Belkacem, quand tu veux poser ta question, vas-y.
Du coup, moi, je me demandais, puisque vous aviez participé à l'écriture de Insidious, d'un des films Insidious et également d'un des Paranormal Activity, et que maintenant vous avez donc écrit et réalisé cette suite, je me demandais, pour vous, parce qu'on sait que les suites, notamment dans le genre horrifique, ça passe ou ça casse, quelles sont les règles d'une bonne suite?
Because you've worked on like Paranormal Activity 5, the fifth, and then Insidious 4th. There's a saying, sometimes like sequels are hits or miss. You know what I mean? So, what do you think are the rules to make a good sequel for you?
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to say because I'm not entirely sure I made a good sequel. Look,
you did.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. The problem, I think, from the filmmaking side is you want to do something different, right? The first movie is a success, and you're like, wow, that was a success. Okay, let's keep pushing the envelope. The problem I think most filmmakers get is the studio wants the exact same thing again. So the studio ends up really wanting the same magic, and the freshness of the first movie is always going to be the freshness of the first movie, right? And so my big thing going in was to not repeat what we did in the first movie. Look, I think you have to, in a movie, it depends on the genre too, right? Like Alien is a horror movie, and Aliens is this big, incredible action horror, spectacle. I think there's only been a few handfuls of sequels that have been better or just on the same level as the original. It's just really hard. And with Escape Room, I just felt like my obligation as the director was to really push the envelope with the escape rooms. We have a train now, and in one place, like a train car where people are riding on the train suddenly becomes an escape room. The real world grabs you and pulls you back in. So for me, for Escape Room, it was really like the set pieces. But like Paranormal Activity, like we were brought in. It was the fifth movie, and by that point, they were just again trying to repeat the same crap. Like it was instead of like I would love to do a Paranormal Activity movie that's told from like a forensics team going in and photographing crime scenes after a murder has happened, you know what I mean, and or cops wearing cameras on them and going into a murder scene, and suddenly you're catching some sort of demonic activity. But that would be too radical for what the studio would want, because they were like, well, no, it should be a family in a house, you know what I mean? And it should be, there should be a bunch of, upper middle class white people, and it's like, well, no, let's do something different. So I think that's the issue that a lot of filmmakers have, is like, they want to do the thing that I think a lot of the audience would think was fresh, but the buyers and the studio wants the same thing, So that's the challenge.
David's gonna ask his question. Vas-y, David.
Yeah. Compte tenu de la progression en fait du genre horrifique sur les plateformes, le spectateur en fait est-il plus intéressé à être surpris à la maison que dans le cinéma, que au cinéma?
Oh yeah. David asked, there's more and more horror movies produced on streaming services. Do you think viewers can be as thrilled at home than they can be in a theater?
I mean, nothing beats the theatrical experience for horror. It's a group effort. It's a group experience. You feel the shuddering and the screaming in a theater in a way. It's, you laugh, you grab your date. So I don't think anyone will. Even the word horror in Latin means horrere, to bristle. It means the hairs on the back of your neck stand up on end. And horror is a very visceral. It uses all the tricks of filmmaking, from sound to special effects to misdirection to score. And the reason I think horror will continue to do well is it is a group experience, and but that being said, we're seeing huge Marvel movies and then small horror films now are going to theaters. But all those mid-level, like I would love to make a movie like Prisoners, you know what I mean? Denis Villeneuve. But those movies aren't going to get made anymore because they're too risky. The $30 to $60 million movies, they will get made occasionally at Netflix and streamers. The thing I really honestly believe is in the next couple of years, there will be a new technology, not necessarily, 5D or some virtual reality thing that the theater can give us that we can't get at home, that will bring people back in droves. I hope, look, I haven't been back to a theater since COVID, and I have a beautiful, nice big TV and surround sound, but it's just the event of going out with your friends and having the fun of that. I just don't think you can replicate.
There's nothing like the atmosphere of a nice big theater. Only the theater, like you said. Yeah.
I think the streamers are really the ones who are going to benefit the most from COVID, because it's like nobody wants to go out anymore. Like I'm like a hermit. Like I get my Postmates, my food delivered. I'm like, just leave it on the steps. I'll be right out. It's like we really, it's going to take, and I think it's going to take many years to get back to,
normal life.
And normal life. Yeah, unfortunately.
And just for the parentheses, here in France, we need now I don't know if it's the same in the United States, but here in France, we need a pass, a sanitary pass for pandemic to go to the movie, to do your shopping, for anything. You want to drink a coffee at a coffee or have a dinner or have a snack, or you have to need a pass. If not, you cannot go out anymore. Does
the pass mean you've been vaccinated?
So there's two ways. There's the vaccinated pass and there's the test pass, So, there's a fracture, I can say the word, between, the one who are vaccinated and everything and the one who cannot, because for some reason. So it's a little bit frustrating because it's, more or less vacation or entertainment, for a lot of people. And I just thinking about, the child, when you're a teenager, you want to have fun,
It's tough. I mean, I'm 43 years old, you know what I mean? And I feel bad for the kids who are 18 and seniors in high school, missing their class trip or just can't, their prom or their dance. And it's graduation. And there's so many kids that just can't even, they're doing college classes online versus being in a room together and hanging out and having fun. So it's tough. And we're seeing breakthrough infections. A lot of people that are vaccinated are still getting sick. My grandmother used to always talk about the Great Depression, and she said, she would take a piece of, she would take a paper towel and go like this and rip it up. Here, you can use this piece. And I'd be like, Graham, what, well, you don't know, you haven't lived through something like the Great Depression. And it's like, this is our challenge, our generation's thing. And we all, right. it's going to be tough, and hopefully people are going to want entertainment. I shot some of Escape Room during the pandemic. We shot 8 more days in Budapest, and it's tough, man. It's 16-hour days. It's there's at least 10 to 15% off the top of the budget is going to COVID safety now. There's the zones. You can't really talk to the actors in a way because you're covered, and it's really tough. Yeah.
Let's hope we're all going through this, safe.
I know. We're all in it together, and that's the thing. And in America, there's, we have a lot of vaccine, but it's we should be giving it to countries that don't have the access, because the whole world needs to get vaccinated, right? It's not enough if just a couple of countries are inoculated. We all need to be inoculated.
So next question.
Anyway, movies.
Yeah, movie. Vas-y, Belka.
Du coup, vu que vous parliez de Prisoners de Denis Villeneuve, j'ai dans votre filmographie, enfin, l'horreur a une place centrale, et je me demandais si justement à l'avenir vous aimeriez explorer d'autres genres de films, voilà.
Yeah, because you talked before about Denis Villeneuve, Prisoners, and because obviously horror movies seems to have a special place in your career, is there any other genre you like and you might want to explore in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing a sort of a synthetic human sci-fi movie that I've been developing for a couple of years. Sort of an Oscar Schindler type who synthetic humans have sort of taken over, the workforce. And so humans hate them. And so dealing with like it's sort of an ex machina kind of world. I just went out with a really big sci-fi horror script that I'm really excited about with Village Roadshow, which is the company that did The Matrix. Look, I think when you start, Deborah Logan, I initially wrote a script called The Bloody Benders that was a Western based on a true story of a family of serial killers. And Guillermo del Toro got behind it and wanted to direct it after Pacific Rim. And so for 2 years, I was waiting for Mr. del Toro to direct this movie. And I didn't want to be a director necessarily. I wanted to be working in the movie business. And I didn't know how. And so when Deborah Logan came up, it was like, because usually you can make a really scary movie for very limited amount of money, right? Like you just need a really good idea and some great performances. And, I tested Deborah Logan, our distributor didn't really believe in the movie. We had one focus test and it was terrible. Like it was like, they brought in a giant book of like, here's how and then it was all the like data about how our movie wasn't going to perform with any demographic. Like I felt like a total failure. And then it got dumped to Netflix. Netflix just picked it up on Halloween weekend. And over that weekend, 1 million people saw it. So the reason I have a career today is because of Netflix. It was an early Netflix movie. I guess what I'm saying is, for my thinking back then was like, let me make a little scary. Found footage was also like, I always feel like found footage done well can be really, really scary. James Wan had seen Deborah Logan and tweeted about it, saying it's really creepy and super scary, and that got me the meetings with Jason Blum and with Lee Whannell for Insidious. So once you kind of make your first movie, they put you in that box, right? Like, and so, but I do love horror. I love dark stuff. I mean, although I feel like I'm always making jokes and being silly. So I'd love to try comedy at some point, but it has to be the right opportunity, I think.
Yeah, that's fun because I had the director of the last GCVD movie, The Last Mercenary, who is a huge success on Netflix. Yeah, and we talked about Netflix, and he said the same thing you said, just like Netflix can save a movie sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And they did for you. They save your movie, and then now you have a career, like you just said. So it's insane. That's very nice.
With Netflix, it was like people shared it. You know what I mean? They shared the image of the woman's jaw extended.
Yeah, I remember this.
We even like people in Pakistan. It literally became an urban legend about the witch who lived up in the mountains of Pakistan. You know what I mean? So like there was no marketing involved. It was just it became viral, and that was in some ways it still feels so much better than marketing just forcing a movie down the consumer's throat.
That's nice.
David, tu veux poser ta prochaine question?
Oui, merci. Adam, j'ai adoré le cas Deborah Logan et le premier Escape. Vous avez travaillé avec James Wan, en plus vous le disiez justement avant. Est-ce que si New Line Cinéma vous propose de reprendre la suite de Conjuring, c'est un projet qui vous intéresserait? Et vu que c'est une suite par rapport aux suites que vous avez travaillées, est-ce qu'il y aurait éventuellement on va dire pas la même pression, mais voilà, une certaine tension quelque part, vu la conjoncture de ce qu'est la franchise Conjuring?
David said he just loved, the taking of Deborah Logan and the Escape Room one. You have also worked with James Wan. If New Line Cinema, offer you to take on the next episode of Conjuring, would you be interested? And maybe it will be another pressure on your shoulder because to take on another, franchise, like big franchise.
Probably not. I'm at a point now where I want to do originals. You know what I mean? I did. Yeah. Insidious was an amazing opportunity for me, but it was an established world, and I felt more like a TV director coming in and I knew Lin Shaye, and I was close with Lin Shaye, so it was really fun to work with her. She's my friend, and and I learned a lot from Lee Winnell on that. But I've been offered Stephen King projects, like I was offered the Tommyknockers and stuff at one point, or I was up for the Tommyknockers, and I just feel like at this point,
I'm sorry, Tommyknockers, a remake, for TV? Oh, that's nice.
For feature. It's a feature script. Yeah. And
I love this story.
It's a long one. You have to be.
It's a long one.
Yeah, you gotta be really patient with that one. But we're out now with this crazy sci-fi horror movie called The Window. It's based on a short story. It's like, what if telepathic aliens open up this beautiful box, basically this giant cube in the middle of the Arctic, and they lure people in, and it's. We're talking to some studios right now about it, but the TV project that I'm doing is an original, and it's based on, drug addiction as a monster. And it's sort of like a drug hits a Colorado town, and it's so addictive that it breaks down your mind, your body, your DNA. Oh, yeah. And so that's where, to answer your question long-windedly, like I want to do original stuff now, and I never say never, but The Conjuring is such an amazing universe, but I don't know that I can bring a new idea to that,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Finger crossed for your sci-fi horror movie because it sounds so just cool, amazing, dude. Man.
Trust me, it will get made eventually. It just need to find $60 million, just $60 million. It's fine. You
never know. Belkacem, tu veux poser ta dernière question?
Oui, du coup, moi je suis très curieux de savoir, puisque l'horreur, on n'arrête pas d'en parler depuis tout à l'heure, c'est vraiment un genre de passionné. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui veulent en faire, beaucoup de jeunes qui aspirent à devenir réalisateur ou scénariste d'horreur. Vous qui avez fait les deux, qu'est-ce que vous conseilleriez aux jeunes qui vous écoutent, et qu'est-ce que vous conseilleriez à un jeune qui vous demande un conseil pour réussir dans ce domaine-là?
Horror genre attracts many young, inspiring filmmakers. What advice would you give to the future young generation, who wants to make it as a director? And what advice can you give to Belkacem because he wants to make it as a director? For instance.
It all comes down to a great script, and I'll tell you anecdotally, like now that I'm doing a TV show as a showrunner, the biggest thing that I find with the writing, and this can help you when you're thinking about it, is what is the hook of the movie, right? It's like Lights Out is a perfect example. And it's a very simple idea, and it's like shut the light off, turn it on, but it has a hook, right? You can see that trailer and you go, oh, I know what that movie is going to be about. Or even like what was that, Buried, where Ryan Reynolds is buried underneath a coffin. Like I think when you're starting out, you have to really have a concept-driven idea that's going to cut through the murk, right? If it's just another dude in a house with a ghost, it's not enough, right? And so that's the first part is a hook and a great concept. The second part of that is really, really just spending the time on the script. And if you're not a writer, I think that's something a director needs to know about themselves if they are genuinely, because a lot of them try and they're just, so you got to know your strengths. And if you're not a great writer, then that's okay. Find somebody who is and really develop that script and really develop the character work. The characters need to be really well dimensionalized and realized so that we care about them. So, and then, I think you gotta figure out ways of just, and again, it's like, how do you make a movie for a price? Like, because you're not going to get, $5 million for your first feature. So like think about things that are, you know, I mean, I remember there was a movie, oh, it was the two kids were stuck on the ski lift chair, right? It was Frozen, right?
Frozen,
like,
yeah, that was very nice.
Yeah, it's just like literally two kids stuck on a ski lift chair, and it's very just like that's the movie, you know what I mean? So there are ways to, and then I think you have to really dig into personal stuff about like what is it that really scares you, you know? If it's just, oh, I'm gonna, you know, if you can make it personal to your own life, I think the work gets better, you know. And the times where it hasn't been personal, my work hasn't been, you know, Escape Room was, I just knew that escape rooms were popular. I had never done one, but I literally was thinking, really? And then when I read the first script, and then I went out and did a bunch of them, and I saw how visual they were and how cinematic they could be, how cool of a visual language they could be. Each room is like a different movie. But it wasn't personal to me. You know what I mean? Like making that movie was just literally me going, oh, this could make some money. You know what I mean? Because you fall into the trap once you start. If you're lucky enough to make the first movie and you get to make a second movie, you start going, okay, what's going to do business? You know, and that's the dangerous place I'd been in, which is like chasing the box office. And look, I gave the sequel my best shot, but like, you know, I couldn't. You know, maybe if the pandemic hadn't happened, we would have done better business or not. But I went to like, what is the box office going to want? What's the trailer need? You know, trains and a beach and water and fire. And I empirically know now I've tried to chase the business part of it and it didn't work. Like it wasn't a success. So now I can step back and go, okay, what do I really want to make? So making it personal, I think, is going to make it work better, you know. I hope that answers your question a little bit, you know, but and not enough. I find personally that not enough genre filmmakers spend enough time on the script. Like you don't want to go to press on your first movie if that script isn't ready, you know, spend 2 years on that script. You know, you get that one shot. So you get that first shot, like really focus on the script, you know, beat the shit out of it, have close friends read it. You know, get great feedback, look for patterns in the notes, you know what I mean? That people are, no, I don't get this, or yeah, your lead character, I don't really like them. Like, listen to the notes, you know, don't be precious with like, this is the movie I see. Like really, really vet it and develop it so that by the time you get to the production, you know at least that part of it is solid. You know, and like Insidious was a great example of, you know, James and Lee had huge success with Saw, and then they went and did some other crazy movies like Dead Silence and stuff. And,
Dead Silence,
you know, and Lee would be the first to say, like, you know, he should have spent more time on the script and stuff like that. But then they went back to basics, and Insidious was sort of like a reimagining of his career in a way. But it was like Poltergeist. It had this new idea of like astral projection and the further. What if we could go into the dark world of the further, you know? And so that was genius, you know? And and the other side of that I'd say is like Lin Shaye, like, you know, I've told James, like, I don't think Insidious would not have worked if you didn't have Lin Shaye. Like Lin Shaye, when she comes in and gives that monologue about, you know, what the further is, and she looks up at the, you know, and she gives us like a 10-page exposition monologue giving us all the rules in the middle of Insidious, but you believe it because she believes it, you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, and look, I mean, you know, filmmaking is a messy thing, and you could have a great script, you could have a great production, and then it doesn't do business. So it's like you want to ensure as much of that as possible. Start with the script, you know, and God, I'm getting long-winded now. I'm sorry.
No, man. These are precious advices. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is priceless. Yeah, really. I love it.
The concept, particularly internationally, you know, because France is a market, but then you want it to do business overseas. You want Americans to see it, and so concept is first, you know. And the only thing I'd say to you, the other friendly advice is don't do a pandemic movie. Like, I'm sure there's so many people doing like virus movies right now. It's like too soon, you know, like.
Because you talked about concept, in the hook. I don't know if you saw it, but now in France we have more and more director of genre movie, because it's not what we do in French cinema, But more and more we have a new generation of young directors. And this summer, I don't know if you saw it, but we had a movie called The Deep House, and it's about a house. Yeah, you saw it. It's about a house, a haunted house in the lake. Deep down in the lake, a haunted house.
Oh,
and it's awesome. You should.
Yeah, I was gonna work on. Oh man! All right.
No, really?
I was like,
they just made it.
Bastards. Well, now I was like, it's like The Conjuring underwater.
And they put a house, in the water, and then that's crazy. The concept is good.
Alexandre Aja, he's one of the best. He's if not like How Tension is like a classic, and I mean, the French have they definitely have their perversions and their,
Yeah. They dig deep into the creepy things. That's it. We have Alexandre Aja, we have Xavier Jeance, we have Julien Maury actually, and Franck Boustillot, who did The Deep House.
What was the movie? There was a movie about a couple. It was the beginning. It was sort of like the origins of The Strangers too. It was like it was a couple in an old French manor, and like and these kids are fucking with them. I remember seeing that too. There was a really scary French movie, and it was just that was terrifying.
It was.
Yeah.
Belkacem et David, je vais vous laisser dire au revoir à Adam. Allez-y les gars.
It was a pleasure to meet you guys. I look forward to seeing your movie.
Pleasure for me aussi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you, John Ali. Merci, John Ali.
Restez dans la room, les gars. Je vous reprends après. Restez dans la room.
Enjoy. Strong for escape.
Adam, it was so nice to have you on this podcast. You're my guest anytime, Adam, if you want to talk. I hope I will have you again. And I'm sure a French audience will be thrilled to hear you about your career and what you think and about the pandemic, because I just love, we can feel the passion you have. And I just love it. It's so refreshing.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you. Yeah, and I always have a deeper appreciation for the journey when I get to talk to folks. So, John, it was really great. And dude, take care of yourself. And I'm hoping France is going to be staying well and healthy.
Yeah, thank you, Adam, so much. Stay safe, and we keep in touch. I'll keep in touch with you. And I just say, I talk to you soon. Okay?
Sounds good, my bud. Take care.
Bye-bye, Adam. Bye.
Bye.